In this video, you will find information necessary to successfully submit a standard financial transfer request. First, it's important to recognize that there are many possible reasons why you may find yourself needing to submit a financial transfer request. In most cases, you'll find yourself needing to transfer an expense from one chart field string to another. This is the scenario that we'll be covering in this tutorial. Along with transferring expenses, you may also find yourself transferring funds between auxiliary projects or wishing to record some form of internal campus revenue and expense. However, there are many similar scenarios where a financial transfer request isn't the process you should be using. If you find yourself wondering if a financial transfer request is suitable for the task you're attempting to complete, please check out our frequently asked questions page for expanded guidance on financial transfer requests. To begin, you will need to identify an expense that needs to be transferred from data warehouse. In this example, you see data warehouse details for Department 1041 and possible expenses available to transfer. Once you've identified the expense, you'll want to export the data warehouse data, as this is critical in processing your financial transfer request. These are the exported data warehouse details. Once the details have been exported, you can begin filling out the financial transfer request form. This form can be found within the FAS Forms website. You may have old iterations of the financial transfer request form, but it's important to use the most recent version found on the FAS Forms site to ensure that your request is submitted as accurately as possible. Once you've navigated to the FAS Forms website, you can find the financial transfer request form alphabetically. Now that you have all of your prerequisite information and forms, you can begin to fill out the pertinent information on the financial transfer request form. First, you'll start by inputting the two pieces of accounting information necessary to complete the request. In this case, with your expense in 1041, you'll be moving the expense to another account. One question that frequently arises is when to use a negative value or a positive value on the financial transfer request form. For the first line of our request, you will be moving the expense from 660003, so you will use a negative value. This is where the initial debit or positive value occurred. So to move it or decrease the expense in this account, you'll need to credit the expense. So to credit 660003, you'll use a negative 158.03. Now that you've removed the original occurrence of the expense by crediting 660003, you will need to define the new location for the expense. Like the initial posting of the expense, you will need to debit the new chart field string. The debit, or positive value, will increase the amount of the expense in a particular account. In this example, 660009 is where you want this expense to actually reside. Because of this, a positive debit of 158.03 is required to chart field string 660009. This is the second line of the financial transfer request. Next, since you are manually transferring this expense, it is important to capture the descriptive information as accurately as possible. This is important for any future reconciliations you may need to perform, or in the event that the financial information you're responsible for is audited. Using accurate and descriptive information will save you a lot of frustration. You can make your transfer information concise, accurate, and descriptive using the description and line description fields. The description field allows you to provide an expanded description for the entire journal. This is especially helpful if you are wishing to use a financial transfer request to adjust multiple items. Continuing with the examples seen throughout this video, you will describe this journal as transfer expense from account 660003 to 660009. In the future, this will allow users to review the corresponding entries and know exactly what the purpose of the transfer was. The line description field allows you to place a more specific description to each line of your transfer request. This field is limited to 30 characters, and the most recent version of the financial transfer request form will prevent you from entering more than that. If you're using the old financial transfer request form, then you can type as much information as you'd like, but note that PeopleSoft will still limit that information to only 30 characters. For the example found in this video, you will use Staples expense as your line description. This allows any future users to view the accounting impact of this request and know exactly what the corresponding debits and credits relate to. After filling in the pertinent details, ensure that you've selected the appropriate business unit box at the top of the request form. Once the financial transfer request has been filled out, you'll add your data warehouse details to your financial transfer request workbook. This allows your information to be submitted completely and limits the possibility of errors or omissions. If you feel that data warehouse details aren't sufficient or available to substantiate your financial transfer request, please consult the Frequently Asked Questions page to help determine what other information might be acceptable. Next, you'll want to make sure that your transfer request is delivered to the accounting staff in the most appropriate manner. First, you'll want to ensure that a user with proper fiscal authority is submitting or approving the request. Requests that are submitted without the proper fiscal authority will be sent back to their respective areas, causing further delays with processing. Next, begin by composing an email with the subject line FTR. It is important to begin your subject line with FTR, as this will ensure that your request is seen by the accounting team in a timely manner. Feel free to add additional details following this acronym in the subject field and body of the email. Finally, attach your Excel file that contains both the financial transfer request as well as the data warehouse details or any other accompanying backup. Any request submitted in a format other than Microsoft Excel will be delayed or even possibly rejected. Once the appropriate fiscal authority has been obtained, the email has been filled out correctly, and the Excel file has been attached, the request can be submitted to either the accounting or the auxiliary accounting resource mailbox. If you have any questions regarding which mailbox is appropriate for your request, please consult the Frequently Asked Questions page. We hope you enjoyed this brief overview of financial transfer requests. If you have any further questions, again, please see the Frequently Asked Questions page and don't hesitate to contact the accounting department.